What's up, Dream Warriors? Welcome back to another episode of a podcast on Elm Street. I'm Mark,
And Brooke,
and this week we are coming at you with my first pick of 2024. I don't know why I picked this movie. It was like a secondary. I had it in mind, but
yeah,
you said it was a slow burn and kind of boring, so I was like, fuck it.
talked you out of it, I guess.
Kind of. But this week we're talking about The Faculty from 1998.
Surprised we haven't done this one yet.
Me too, actually. And like as I was saying it, I was like, wait, have we done this? Because
Yeah,
it feels like one that we've done.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this came out like in the peak of like the 90s slashers, and it was kind of like a
hmm
different twist on things because there was aliens and
Yeah,
but it still kind of had to feel like a slasher movie. Like,
yeah. I mean, the guy behind it,
yeah,
had
Kevin
something to do with
Williamson.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I always thought this movie was a lot of fun.
hmm
So I guess that's why I picked it. But before we do a dive into this one, we'll kick off our news and booze. What are you drinking tonight?
I'm still drinking some Ryan Ginge,
Nice.
so keeping it classy, San Diego.
Got a nice glass.
Yeah. How about you?
I didn't feel like drinking a Coors Light, so I was like digging around in my fridge and I found a strawberry kiwi Vizzy,
Nice.
which is a hard seltzer.
Yeah,
And
I think I've
that's what
had those before.
I've had one of them. I don't think I've had this kind though. What is good?
Nice.
All right. What have you been watching this week?
Well, keeping the streak continuing. Haven't watched another single movie this week except for The Faculty, so
God damn, man.
I know it's uh, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But Bettina and I did start this new show. I've been kind of into cooking reality shows with Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
But there's a show on Netflix called Pressure Cooker.
Okay.
It's kind of like a mixture of like cooking competition show and like the real world,
Oh, okay.
like Big Brother-ish.
Oh, like okay, gotcha. Like the TV show Real World.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you meant like cooking show and the real world. Like,
No,
okay,
no,
I
like
gotcha.
yeah, like the TV show. Like it's like these people cook, but they also have to like form alliances and like judge each other. There's no judges. It's like them
Hmm,
judging each other's food. It's pretty good.
okay,
It's
that's
pretty good.
interesting.
Yeah.
Nice,
But yeah.
sweet. Did you ever watch that? Can't think of what it's called. It's on Roku though. It's a sushi competition.
I don't think so. I think remember seeing it on there.
Uh, Morimoto Sushi Master.
No, I think I've seen it like it on there before, but no, I
Yeah,
haven't seen it. No.
it's fucking good, man. Like some of the shit they come up with, it's crazy.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, check that one out too. Um, as for me, I'm in the same boat as you are. I didn't watch anything other than The Faculty this week.
Yeah.
Uh, I was reading quite a bit.
hmm
Um, I haven't really done much, really. I don't know what. Oh, Sarah and I started playing It Takes Two,
Oh yeah, nice.
a co-op game. So we
Yeah,
did that one night, and yeah, just been gaming or reading.
nice.
Yeah, we're both off to a very slow start this year.
I know. I
I want
know.
to see, I want to see how many I've watched so far this year. It's low, I know that. Oh, 2024 is not even showing up in my stats yet. I've only watched 9 movies this year
Yeah, I haven't mine hasn't shown up either.
because I think you have to hit 10, don't you?
Oh yeah, I've watched six this year.
Jesus
And
Christ.
they're all pretty much podcast movies,
Yeah, like
except for like maybe a couple.
we're basically 4 weeks into the year.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh well, we have other shit that we're doing, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, as for news, what do I have? Uh, this is interesting. Godzilla minus one grabs an Oscar nomination for Best Visual Effects. This is the first ever
Hmm.
Godzilla movie to ever be nominated for any Oscar.
Yeah. Did you see the video of everyone like that worked on the movie just like
Yeah,
get so excited, pop like the confetti, and like they were so happy, man.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, they
Um,
just released it in it's called Godzilla minus color, I think, or something like that.
minus one minus color or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I want to watch that version of it because
Mhm.
I think it'd be sick.
Is it in any theaters near you?
I don't think so.
Fuck. If it's not in Ottawa, it's definitely not around me.
I didn't look, to be honest. But yeah.
Um, there's a new Jurassic World movie in the works, from the original writer of
Hmm.
Jurassic Park.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
What else do we got? Matthew Lillard celebrated his 54th birthday the other day.
Okay.
54. And I don't know, it's not really huge news, but it's kind of cool. Diablo Cody said that she's not done with the Jennifer's Body story and wants to make a sequel,
Hmm.
which I thought was kind of neat. And um, I don't know if you heard it or not, but Steamboat Willie, like the original Mickey Mouse, is now in the
Yeah.
now in like the public vault or whatever, or not vault. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody can use it now,
Yeah.
like how it was Winnie the Pooh. So they're making a movie, of course, a horror movie, and they dropped a teaser trailer for it today, I think. And
Hmm.
I watched it, and it looks like it's going to be terrible.
I figured it would be. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm probably going to watch it.
Yeah. The Godzilla minus one minus color actually got released today
Oh, did it?
in the theaters. So yeah.
Nice. Did you find any near you?
No.
Or did you even look?
I did. The only one that popped up was the one I usually go to, and it yeah, it didn't have it.
Shitty.
But yeah.
All right. Is there any 4Ks coming out this week?
Um, Not worth opening my website for. There's a DC animated movie that's out on 4K, and then Kindergarten Cop.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd buy that on 4K, but that's cool regardless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not really a movie that I feel like needs to be 4K.
No, no, but yeah,
I love that movie though.
yeah, it's good.
Who is your daddy and what does he do? All right. Well, that was a short and sweet intro. So I guess we can cue the theme music and dive into the faculty. All right. Like we said in the intro, we were talking about the faculty from 1998. This was my pick of the month. Starting off with a synopsis. When Casey Connor, Harrington High School's newspaper photographer, witnesses the murder of a nurse and sees her alive again, he decides to investigate the bizarre happenings. Such a weird synopsis for them to have.
Yeah, because like that isn't really the movie. It's a scene in the movie that happens
Mhm.
like halfway through it.
Yeah,
But I feel like I guess if they used a different synopsis, it would have been like 10 other movies synopsis probably.
that's fair. Fair. This movie is directed by Robert Rodriguez, who we just did an episode on one of his other movies
Yeah,
on or on our action podcast,
yeah.
the podcast on Fury Road. Check us out over there too. But we just talked about Desperado on
Hmm.
that one. He's obviously done From Dusk Till Dawn. He did the Grindhouse movies, Sin City, and the Spy Kids franchise.
Yeah,
This cast list is fucking insane, dude. Like I didn't even write them down. I just like
I
copy and
know.
pasted the picture from
Yeah,
IMDb and just threw it on here.
yeah.
Um,
Like I watched this movie like last year, and like I
yeah,
remember like most of the cast, and then like there's a few people. It's like, fuck, he's in this. Like this
yeah.
guy's in it. It's like, geez.
Uh, yeah, we have Jordana Brewster. This was her first ever acting credit.
Hmm.
Clea Duvall, Laura Harris, Josh Hartnett, Sean Hattasey, Salma Hayek, Famke Janssen, Piper Laurie, Christopher McDonald, Robert Patrick, Usher in his first acting credit,
Hmm.
John Stewart, Elijah Wood, Danny Masterson, John Abrahams, who was in Scary Movie.
Yeah, I didn't even like I didn't notice before, but during this watch, I was like, did it kind of like a double take?
Yeah,
I was like, wait, is that the guy from Scary Movie?
yeah. And the guy who is always with Danny Masterson is Wiley Wiggins, and he was
Yeah,
the pitcher in Dazed and Confused.
yeah. Like I recognize like that guy looks so familiar. Then like looked it up after. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, Mitch.
yeah,
But yeah, this cast list is fucking crazy, dude.
yeah.
Um, I like John Stewart's name in this movie too, Professor Edward Furlong.
I didn't know his first name was Edward.
Yeah, that's what he's credited as, which is funny because Edward Furlong is John Connor in Terminator 2,
Hmm.
and Robert Patrick plays the T-2000 in Terminator 2.
Mm,
It's kind of funny.
connections.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother. Like, I don't even know who to pick, really.
I mean, I got a
So, all
couple people.
right, yeah, you go for it.
Um, this guy looked familiar. I looked him after. So the guy that plays Officer Number One,
Mhm.
his name is Dwayne Martin, and he was in Scream 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the guy that played the history teacher, he
Yeah.
looked familiar. I can find him here.
Um, yeah.
Daniel Von Bargen.
Yeah,
I had no idea that was his name, but
yeah.
yeah, he was in like Super Troopers, RoboCop 3, just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's one of those faces.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, this was like one of those typical 90s horror movies where they just got like a bunch of well-known people.
yeah,
Um, minus like Jordana Brewster and well, Usher was well known, but this was like their first acting credit. But a lot of these other people were faces that people had seen before in that era, and they just kind of threw them all in.
yeah.
Um, one thing that I read too, this movie was basically how Elijah Wood got his role as Frodo in Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
someone on the set of this movie heard rumblings of Peter Jackson creating the first movie,
Yeah.
and they urged Elijah Wood to send in an audition tape. And he had never read the books before or anything like that, but and he wasn't going to do it because the cast was predominantly British, but he
Hmm.
did it anyways, and obviously he got the role.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Hmm.
He went from this to Lord of the Rings, just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Are you ready to start this movie discussion?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Um, yeah, I mean, right off the bat, you can tell this is just a 90s movie. That's the music right
Mm-hmm.
off the bat just punches you in the gut and
The
this
Offspring.
yeah, just the classic uh football coach, like Coach Willis. I love him in this movie. He's so
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, you know, just like the 90s typical football movie, like hard coach, yelling at the players and stuff like that. Usher is obviously in it. And he's like looks so young and
Mm-hmm.
um you don't really get in this movie like what these aliens are or where it starts at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that the person that came up to coach at the start of the movie was well, spoiler alert, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what kind of what my thought was too, because like we can assume that she's patient zero at this place.
yeah, yeah,
And he wouldn't have known who she was because this was her first day there.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it starts right off the bat, it gets right into uh the horror. Miss Drake is and all the teachers are locking up, going home for the night. She forgets her keys. She goes in the office and Coach Willis is there being very, very creepy and he does such a good job. Like with like
Hmm.
all the teachers do, like just the way their facial features like just change, right?
Yeah.
They're so good at just being stoic and yeah, especially him, just because he's like meant for this role.
Hmm. Completely emotionless.
Yeah, yeah. I love that he like stabs her hand and he asks for a pencil and he's like, "Here, take these fucking pencils," and then stabs her in the hand and he's just like, "I've always wanted to do that." And then later on in the scene, whenever she's trying to get out, he locks all the doors and Mrs. Olson is there and she's not being much help, but I guess there's a reason why she's not being much help because she's actually one of the aliens too.
Yeah.
She gets out and then she locks the coach out and then she turns around and Mrs. Olson just stabs the fuck out of her. And then she just says, I've always wanted to do that.
I thought she was really good too.
Yeah, she was.
Piper
Yeah.
Laurie. Yeah, I thought she did a really good job.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and like the coach, like we know something's up with him, but like she thinks that he's been drinking and he's
Yeah.
trying to like sexually harass her and shit like that, just like with what
Mhm.
he's saying. Um, but yeah, I agree. I think he did a great job with this.
Yeah. So I guess do the aliens they mend the bodies obviously that they're in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because like she gets like stabbed to shit with the scissors, right? And then
Mhm.
she shows back up like the next day or a couple days later.
Yeah. They're still scarred though, because if you see Coach Willis's
Yeah, coach
face,
his face, but yeah,
yeah, I don't know, the body's just like almost become like the
yeah,
fucking meat bag from like Men in Black, right? They just become like a
yeah,
host for
yeah.
the alien.
hmm Um, and you meet all pretty much all the main characters in the this opening, not opening shop, but the first day of school. Like,
Mhm.
is the day like whenever the coach gets taken over, is that like the last school year or is this like the night before? Because I don't like this first day. It's like it feels like the first day of school, like in this opening thing when you meet Casey and he's getting his nuts fucking crushed on the on the flagpole, and then
That's
Mary
true.
Beth shows up and she's new, but
Yeah, that's a good point. Or like maybe they hadn't started school because like the opening scene is football practice, right?
yeah.
And so like maybe it's like their first practice of the season or something like that. And like this
hmm
the school year hasn't started yet, but they're practicing already.
Yeah, maybe,
And
yeah.
like that teachers meeting that we see at the beginning, it's all the teachers talking about the budgets for the year.
Right.
So maybe it is like the night before the first day of school kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, yeah.
What how did you like how they introduced all the characters?
Yeah.
Because it like it focused on each one and then it would like splatter their name across the screen and
I think it was only a couple of them though, right? Like
yeah, like
there's
the main ones.
Stan, Delilah,
Stokely,
Casey,
Casey,
yeah, Gabe. Or sorry, Stan.
Stan. Yeah, and Mary Beth, it shows hers
Oh yeah,
too.
Mary Beth, yeah. I liked it. Like I don't usually like movies where there's a ton of characters, but I feel like this one, they were your typical 90s like high school kid horror tropes,
Hmm.
but they totally flipped it in a different way, kind of.
Yeah.
Like you meet Delilah, she's like, this pretty girl who uh needs everything like right and stuff like that, but she's like the biggest bitch in the school.
Yeah.
Stokely is kind of like emo goth and she I don't know if she pretends, but she says she's a lesbian as kind of like a cover up for something that she has going on. Zeke is like this bad boy who probably failed a couple of years and has been held back because he looks way older than everyone else.
Yeah, they do say that was his second time doing
Oh, okay,
his
okay.
senior grade.
But he's like super smart like
Yeah.
crazy smart, but he doesn't seem like that. And then I guess Casey's really like the only kind of normal one.
Hmm. Well, and even like Mary Beth, right? Like she's like almost like a Southern Belle kind of style.
Mhm.
She's like really sweet and seems innocent and everything like that. And then we find out later on that she's
Mhm.
not.
Yeah, she reminded me like of Kristen Dunst. Like she looked a lot like
Mm,
her, and like a mixture of her and like another actress.
yeah, yeah.
But like, um, and then Stan is like your typical jock. Like he's the QB of the team, but he kind of like has a change in his heart where he wants to focus on his like his
Academics.
yeah academics and stuff like that. Um, so I kind of like that about this kind of these characters. They're like all different, kind of.
Hmm. Kind of like the Breakfast Club in a way. Like how
Yeah,
like everyone in the Breakfast Club was like a cliche clique,
yeah,
but then we find so much more out about them and like you kind of change your whole perspective on them.
yeah, yeah. Um, and Zeke is a drug dealer. He makes these like homemade drugs. I really like the way that he transports them
Hmm.
just in pens.
Yeah, it's cool.
That was cool. Um, one question I kind of had was like, how is no one wondering where the principal is on the first day of school?
It's a good point.
Because she
That's a
doesn't
good
show up
point.
until like at the very end of the first day, just out
Yeah.
of nowhere, you know?
Yeah, it's a good point.
But then Mrs. Olson and Coach are there, and they look very weird. Like Mrs. Olson, like reminds me of the grandma, their mom off of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like when we see her in the teachers meeting or whatever at the very start, like her hair's like in a rat's nest, like just all over the place. She's wearing glasses and
Mhm.
she dresses like I don't know, like she buys all of her clothes from Value Village kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we see her the next day, she's not wearing glasses, her hair's
Hmm.
down and it's done all nice. She's wearing lots of makeup. Like she looks
Yeah.
I don't know, she looks like she takes care of herself kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I didn't like about this movie, that kind of threw me off was uh Zeke and Mrs. What's her name? Burke or something.
Yeah, Burke, yeah.
Yeah, Miss Burke. Like I get he's probably like
How
what do you
much younger
think?
than her?
Like how much how like do you think they're seniors in this movie?
Yeah, yeah.
So I
And
mean he
he's 19 because it's his second year doing it, right?
yeah, yeah.
But
But
still.
like this scene that we first see them when they're in class, like very awkward, and I just did not like it at all. Like
Hmm.
she gets kind of worked up and he's like clearly flirting with her in class
Yeah.
and she's not like stopping it. She's
Hmm.
just like kind of like flustered and like clearly hot for him. And yeah, it's just kind of threw me off.
Yeah. I mean, technically he is legal.
Yeah, I know.
So, but yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, Stan's quitting football. Uh he's trying to like open up to Delilah and she's just like such a bitch to him. Like even I was watching this Bettina and like this scene and she's just like, wow, Delilah's a bitch, eh? It's like she's so mean to him. He's like trying to open up to her and like
Yeah,
she's like,
because they're
what
dating.
about college? And you need the football scholarship. He's like, well, if I really like focus on my studies and he's trying to yeah,
She's basically implying that he's not smart enough to go to college and he needs the football scholarship or else he's not going to be able to go.
yeah, yeah. And like Delilah is making fun of Stokely for being gay and like just the names that they call each other in this movie, like not just like these two, but like at one point someone calls someone tit bags and just the names are so ridiculous.
Yeah. I loved her at the whole movie too. We have this couple who is what's John Abrahams
Mhm.
and his girlfriend, and they're credited as "fuck you boy" and "fuck you girl."
Yeah.
And just like randomly throughout the movie, you'll just see them, and they're just like beating on each other.
Mhm.
fuck you, oh, fuck you fucking piece of shit, fuck you, and just like hitting each other. It's I don't know, it's just so funny because like every high school has that one couple, right? Where they're just like
Yeah,
constantly fighting in the hallway and shit.
yeah, yeah. I really like the scene between Casey and Coach Willis
Hmm.
whenever Casey is in the stands, like eating his lunch, and then he is walking on the football field and then finds the one of the creatures, like it's all like hard, doesn't know what it is. And then Coach, he's like, you don't really like sports that much, do you, eh? And then Casey is like, yeah, I only think that what does he say? I don't think a person should run unless they're being chased.
Mhm.
And then it comes back later in the movie, but yeah, it's good. And then probably one of the most like memorable scenes for me is the scene with Mr. Furlong
Mhm.
in the science lab.
Yeah.
Um, so Casey brings him this alien. He finds it looking in the magnifying glass, or not magnifying glass. What's that thing called?
Microscope.
Microscope. Thank you. Um, and he's like talking a bunch of like science jargon, and then just in the background, Zeke is like just saying all this weird stuff, and it's like, she's and like Stokely's like, making fun of him, like, how the fuck do you know all this stuff? Like, he's like super smart.
Yeah. And then how did the water get on it?
Uh,
Some
Mary,
some
Mary Beth or Stokely bumped Gabe Usher's character
right.
and spilled the water on it. Then it kind of like started moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
then they clue in that the water kind of resuscitated it
yeah,
and they throw it in the big tank.
yeah. And
And we
then
get shitty ass CGI.
yeah, because they spend all their budget on the big monster.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah. Yeah, CGI is not that great, but yeah, like it gets like clear and you see all its like organs, and then it uh grows these like red kind of hair like tentacle thingies. Um
You ever seen parasites come out of like a fish? You ever seen
yeah,
those videos on TikTok? That's what it reminded me of. Like those
yeah,
big long parasites that like kind of string out.
yeah, yeah. And then Mr. Furlong puts on gloves and he I don't know if he was just being funny or like if it was just like a serious line that they wrote in, but it was supposed to be funny. I don't know, but he puts on gloves and reaches in. He's like, they're like, "What are
Oh.
you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna check his prostate." Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think this is like a very idiotic move.
Mhm.
Like you don't know what this is. You you just finished telling Casey that you think he may have found a new species
Yeah,
and like you don't know what its mannerisms are going to be like or anything like that. And then he just sticks his hand in and starts fucking petting this thing.
yeah, yeah. And then it splits into two, and he's like, still like, whoa, it can replicate. And then it like zooms into one of them. You see like a fucking mouth pop out of it, like alien, and
Yeah.
bites his hand and he's bleeding everywhere and stuff like that. Yeah.
One scene, like one part of this scene that I did like is Stokely puts her hand up to the glass and the one
Mm,
swims up to her and all of the like red parasite looking things like form into the shape of her hand up against the glass.
yeah.
So it's like already showing that it's like that it
Hmm.
does mimicry, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. So the one scene we get Stan, he's telling the coach that he's basically quitting football, and Coach Willis is not freaking out. He's like, okay. And he's like, you tell me like the day before some football game, and it's like, okay, then that's it. And then Stan's kind of like caught off guard, like, oh, that's it. He's like, what do you want to say? Like, yell and scream at you. And he's like, what kind of coach would I be? Or something like that.
Meanwhile, 20 minutes prior, we watched him flip a fucking bench over and
Yeah.
Throwing helmets around.
Yeah, yeah. So Stan, they finished some practice or something like that, or and then Stan is showering, and out of nowhere, this crazy looking teacher, just Miss Brummel, she like walks in and she starts like taking off her clothes and stuff like that. Her like face is like getting blisters and like
Mhm.
melting, and then he like grabs her hair and like part of her skull comes off.
That's fucking gross.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I did like the little thing with Zeke selling the movies out of the back of his car. I was like, we got Nev Campbell and what's the other one? The other actress.
Katie
Well, he
Holmes.
says
Oh,
Sarah Michelle Gellar, and then they're like, "Oh, they fully frontal," but that's clearly like I think that he was just kind of throwing in, I know he did last summer and Scream kind of in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I thought that was funny.
Kevin Williamson's homage to his own movies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Casey and Delilah, they are in the faculty lounge, kind of looking around, and Coach and Mrs. Olson walk in and they immediately go to the water cooler and well, they hide in the closet and they're in the water cooler talking, being weird. And then I didn't write her last name down, but the nurse,
Mhm.
who is played by Selma Hayek, she comes in and she's sick and all this stuff. And then you see through the closet, Willis and Olson are cornering her and they put her down and he basically pushes an alien out of his mouth into her ear and you just see like blood like squirt out, and I guess it's that quick that they take over a body.
Yeah, which is weird because like how you mentioned with the principal, like it didn't happen that well, maybe it did happen that quickly, but like where was she for the whole movie? Cause or the
Mhm.
whole first day?
Yeah,
Cause like 2 minutes later, if that, we see the nurse come out into the hallway and she's
yeah,
just walking around like she's fine.
yeah. Because they end up seeing Mrs. Brummel in the closet and
Mhm.
she's like fucking fucked up, and
Decomposed.
they run out. I love that Delilah just like fucking hit sticks Mrs. Olson just out of nowhere. And they run out and then they're running and you see Mrs. Drake, Miss Drake, I think the principal.
Yeah.
She just walks up and she looks totally fine. And they don't know that she's kind of taken over. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh, like there's a dead body in there. And all the teachers are now like, oh, are you sure that you saw that? And all the teachers just like standing like so like still and just, yeah, they'll do a really good job
Yeah.
of being like that. I love that they're running away and Casey like falls and then Delilah just fucking books it out of there, just leaves them. I was like, what the fuck? Uh, yeah. Um, so later that day, uh, Casey comes to the high school with his parents. His dad is Shearer Gavin with a really bad goatee. And they brought cops with them. And I feel like it's a little too late to bring the cops into this because it's like later that night. It's like obviously they can
Move the body.
move the body out, right? He does try calling Delilah, but she didn't answer and she's not home or something like that.
Yeah, because nobody
Um,
believes him, so he tries to
no,
call her as a secondary witness.
no, because all the teachers are in on it. They're after hours,
Mhm.
and they show him like the closet, nothing in there, and then they bring him to the principal's office, and Mrs. Drake is like, "Oh, I need to interview." Or no, the cop, one cop is like, "Oh, I just want to call someone to make sure, blah blah blah." So he goes into the office, closes the door, and then Casey kind of see something happening in there, and then he comes out, the cop's like kind of stumbling, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" Like he's one of them now. And then the cop kind of like grins at Casey, and yeah, I love the whole scene with his dad, and he's like taking all his stuff away at the house, and the mom is like, "His porno," and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay." He lifts up the thing, all the magazines, porn mags are there. And he says, what does he say? Fuck. Something about like no more waving the bishop or something like that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what it
what he
was,
says.
but yeah. Uh, and he just tried to leave, and you see like the faculty at his house, but I don't know if that was like him just seeing things or if they were actually there, you know.
I think they were actually there.
Probably, probably. So it's the next day at school. We kind of get a glimpse into the faculty lounge, and there's a shit ton of water in there now. One guy's just like carrying the Culligan water jugs, and they
Yeah.
got like fucking ton of them in there. Um, the scene when they're in class with the history teacher, and he like wants all their family names of like their most like close relatives. Do you think that was like the aliens trying to get names of people, or like what do you think that was?
Yeah, I don't really know what the point of that was. Like
Mm,
if they're trying to infect all the families of the students that are at this school, like I don't know why that's their focus.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Because they're trying to like take over the whole town, obviously. So
Yeah,
like,
just take over everybody then.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand why they specifically wanted the names of all the immediate family.
Because like the teachers still know who the people are around them, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like they're in the mind of the person they took over.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So basically the whole faculty is aliens now, and throughout the whole day, the principal is just calling, three or four people at a time, like report to the principal's office, and then you see like a big ass line of kids just getting ear exams, and like I don't know, if I was one of them, I'd like clue and be like, why the fuck are we getting ear exams? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you see the people that come out and they're almost like fucking zombified.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We get another very weird scene from Miss Burke. Like,
Out at Zeke's car.
I don't know if I like this actress.
Famke Janssen.
Yeah.
Uh, what else is she in? She's been in stuff.
Well, she was Jean Grey,
Right. Yes, that's right.
but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of her in this movie, but I didn't hate
No.
her as Jean
No.
Grey.
But it goes up to where like Zeke is kind of like, okay, like, none of this stuff. And she like grabs him, is like assaulting him, and like none of the kids are doing anything. Like it's very weird.
Yeah, because she's like fully transformed her look, right? Because before she
Mhm,
was like very timid and like almost like a nerdy looking teacher. Like she could have been
mhm.
like a drama teacher or a librarian or something.
Yeah,
And now in this, she's like dressed all sexy and her hair's
yeah,
down. She's not wearing glasses.
yeah, yeah.
And obviously her attitude's changed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love that the scene with Casey and Stokely in the library, and he's like each of them, like Delilah and Casey, take a person to kind of tell
Mhm.
what's happening. And he brings Stokely to the library, and I love that she's like bringing up like movie references, like, oh, it could be Invasion of the Body Snatchers and stuff like that. And he's like asking her what that is, and she's like, well, they use pods, and she's like, in Puppet Master or something like that, they use parasites. So like
Mhm.
could be parasites that are what these are.
Yeah.
Um, and then they get all the kids to Furlong's lab, and the creatures are gone from the tank. And the next room over, Zeke is showing Mary Beth his kind of where he takes all of his chemical paraphernalia, I guess,
Like
from
how
the
he
sun.
makes the drug that he sells.
Yeah. And they kind of have like a little kiss and they kind of like each other and then they hear them in the next room. So they go in and at first like Zeke makes fun of Casey and like is kind of not believing what they're saying, and then all of a sudden Furlong comes in and just immediately like Zeke calls it out like it is. Like he's kind of joking.
Hmm.
He's like, well, Casey here thinks that you're an alien. And he just like, oh, is that right? Goes up to the window, pulls the blind, and just like shit, just starts right there. I really like this scene a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, 'cause how's it go down? He tries to attack Zeke, a couple of the characters, and then doesn't someone have a gun? No, not at this point,
No,
no.
no. Is it Casey? He's got Casey held up by the throat,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then Zeke grabs the blade from the paper cutter,
Yeah,
which is so sick, and he cuts his fingers off,
yeah.
and then his finger like they cut off, and then they like scurry away, like they're
Yeah.
alive, and then like the tentacle things come out of
Yeah,
his hand.
yeah. That's really cool.
Um, and Zeke fucking stabs him in the eye with one of his drug pens,
Yeah,
and his eye just like starts bubbling and like pussing and
yeah, yeah.
gross.
So do you think that because it was in his eye directly, like it's closer to his brain, is that why like he died so quickly?
Yeah, I think so.
But also like when you snort stuff, like I know it's not going into your brain, but like same general area, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like when Delilah sniffs it later on, why didn't she die? You just see all the aliens in her face like scurry away.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, they're at Zeke's house. Uh, he kind of does like some testing on like a little mouse, kills it, cuts it open, and then he confirms that it's a parasite that's like taken over the body. They need a host, and there's probably a master or a queen somewhere that is like feeding and controlling all of the aliens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they kind of take a page from the Thing's book. And, someone brings up the point like, well, how do we know who's an alien, who's not? So then they decide that they're gonna take drugs. And Bettina liked this scene a lot. Like she was laughing at the whenever Casey took the drugs and she's just like laughing and having a good time. And then
Yeah.
Stan takes the drugs and yeah, they go around stuff like that. And the last ones is Delilah and Mary Beth, and Mary Beth like says, to Zeke, like, that I'm allergic to this, I can't take it. But then they do anyway, and then Delilah turns that she's one of the aliens.
Mhm.
I also like that someone asks Zeke what what's in the drugs, and he's like, "Oh, some caffeine and some household shit, household chemicals or something like that."
Nobody has a fucking clue.
No. Uh yeah. But who ends up running away? Oh, Delilah ends up running away,
Mhm.
and Stokely has to be like the worst fucking shot. Like, Jesus, man.
Sign her up for the fucking stormtrooper training.
Legit. Yeah. Legit. So bad. So bad.
I like that Delilah destroys his lab too, so like he can't make any more of the drugs
Yeah. Yeah.
before she runs away.
Yeah. Even though they do end up having like a shit ton of drugs.
Hmm. Yeah, because he's got like a trunk full of them.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I really, really liked the way that they filmed the football game.
Mm.
It was so like crazy, but The music was amazing. They had like the fireworks going off, explosion in the background, just like chaos. Like, how does the other team not like pick up that something's happening? Like they're literally infecting people on the field with aliens. Like in the pileups are like putting the aliens in their ears or in their mouths or whatever. And at one point the coach like tells Gabe like get in there and fuck him up, and they just see like him clothesline a guy and kill him basically. Oh man, it's funny. So they're all in the gym. They lock themselves in there. Mrs. Drake comes in and she's they don't know exactly that she's an alien, so they want to test her again. And they have Zeke's gun they brought. So, Casey is like, take the drugs or we'll shoot you. And she's like, no. And he's like, well, let's just do this the hard way. And then they end up, I think Zeke ends up shooting her, right? Shooting her in the head, or is it Stan that does? I guess it doesn't really matter. One of
Yeah,
them
I
does.
can't remember. I don't have it written down.
Um, but then they end up stabbing her somewhere in the face or something like that with like three or four of these things, the drugs, and then fucking Mary Beth like just jumps the whole thing on her. It's like Jesus, but I guess there's a reason why she did that, right?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
she wants none to be left.
Yeah.
And then immediately like Mrs. Drake just dries to like nothing, like her whole body just dries up. Crazy.
I like this scene too because Stan goes out to the football game
Mhm.
and like to see the coach and the team.
Because they think that
They thought
Mrs.
that,
Drake was the queen or whatever.
yeah, exactly. So he goes out to see if killing her worked, and he comes back and they have the door
Hmm.
locked and he's talking to Stokely through the door.
Hmm.
And like you can tell that he's infected, but like she's
Hmm.
trying to believe that he's not.
Yeah.
And they they want him. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So they shove the pen underneath the door and
Yeah.
tell him to take it. And he's arguing with them, and he's like, "I've already taken it." Blah blah blah. And then he just undoes the cap and fucking pours it
Yeah.
all out.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a really cool scene.
I really like too, like the CGI was terrible, but when he first runs up to coach the coach and it's like raining and they're like looking up and you see all the tentacles coming out of his
Mm,
head and you see like the alien inside his head, like it
yeah,
looks really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so all the girls are staying in the gymnasium, and Zeke and Casey are heading to the car to try and find more drugs. What do they call it in the movie?
I don't remember what he calls it.
Uh, yeah, I
Yeah,
forget too.
I
Yeah,
can't remember what he calls it.
yeah. Um, Also, I don't know why I just randomly thought of that, but Zeke's friends, whenever like before the scene with Mrs. Burke, when they come up to him, like it was like so obvious that they were aliens because they're like, "Hey Zeke, you got more of the scat or whatever the
It is
drug,
scat.
the
Scat is what
scat."
they
Okay,
call it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, sure, here." Like hands him like two of them, and like, "Hey man, you got any more?" And like, "We'll take all of it." Gives him like a stack of money, and he's like, "All right, here, guys." And they don't even like take it. They're just like, "Well, you want all of it? You got more?" He's like, "No." And like, he's smart because he put like three or four more into his pocket.
Hmm.
And like, what about your car? What about your house? He's like, I think that's enough, guys. um, but yeah, Zeke and Casey are getting to the car, and I love when they get to the bus and like all the football team is like in their football uniform still. You got Stan is in his football uniform, and they're like under the bus, and Casey's like, well, what's the plan? Like, we only need one of us to like get the drugs or whatever. And then
Yeah.
Zeke is like, well, we need one of us to be a decoy. So he runs off. Um, is a decoy. Casey's a decoy for Zeke. He gets in the bus, and then Delilah finds him on the bus, and he somehow gets up through the top of it. I thought, I mean, he should definitely be on the football team if he can do that. Jesus.
Yeah, this is solid like 4 foot vertical probably.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so he gets to the car, and then we get Mrs. Burke show up, and she's clearly an alien. She's doing her creepy flirting stuff. He gets in the car driving away, and then she like gets in with it halfway in, and
Mhm.
he puts a seatbelt on and just destroys his nice, beautiful car.
Yeah, it's a sad scene.
It is, yeah. I totally forgot about the fucking Mars attack scene in this
I
movie.
forgot about it too. I was laughing at that scene.
Even Patina was like, "Wow, this reminds me of Mars Attacks with the girl with the fucking the dog head."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because the next day, like after the movie, or the 1 month later, I think the teacher has like a scarf around her neck. So I wonder if she has like a scar
Oh,
still from it.
yeah, maybe. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So then I love when her fucking head is just like crawling around and her body's
Yeah.
trying to find it,
The
find
body in the
it.
background fucking killed me.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like headless and just
Classic.
like feeling all over the place for
Yeah, yeah.
it.
Um, so then back in the gymnasium, Mary Beth reveals herself as the queen. And I guess like I forgot it was her, but I guess it is kind of like obvious
Yeah.
because even Delilah calls it when they're taking the drugs. Um, she's like, "Well, this all started happening. You got here, you're from fucking Texas. Like, what are you even doing in Ohio?" Like,
Yeah.
um,
And they were all confused because Mary Beth took the drug.
mhm.
And I forget what she says, like,
It does a flashback.
yeah, but she basically says, like, are you sure you know what you saw or something like
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah,
And it does a flashback and she puts it up her nose, but the alien closes off the nose.
yeah,
And then she has like a tentacle pinky finger and it
mhm.
unscrews the bottom of the pen and it all drops at the bottom of it.
Yeah, yeah. I really like the final scene here, like when we get the full reveal of like the queen
Mhm.
alien. Looks really cool. They're in like the pool area, and Stokely gets taken in. Um, and then they get out. I love the scene whenever the alien like it's like a huge alien, right? It's
Mhm.
underwater swimming, and then it slowly turns into Mary Beth.
Yeah.
Like this movie is like so many movies into one. Like I'm like it reminds me of like Species
Yeah.
a bit,
Yeah.
Um and I love when they get in like the boys' locker room, and then around the corner Zeke comes in and he sees Stokely, and he's like, "Oh, like you're alive." And then like out of the darkness, fucking Mary Beth comes out and she's naked, and
Yeah.
Mary Beth's like, "Oh, Stokely's the alien." And then I was just like, "Dude, you're fucking naked." Like and then one I think Stokely points out like, "Why are you naked? Like, oh, you're clearly the alien." And then like it transforms into it and chaos happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so Stokely gets she goes into like a kind of caged area. But
Yeah,
she
because
gets in
she's changed.
she's changed, so she like locks herself in there. Um, Zeke and Casey are kind of running away. Zeke gets like hit. He's kind of hurt. He's fucked up. Um, and they pretty much have like no drugs left. They have like maybe two or three syringes, if you'll call them that.
Yeah.
So I love how Casey defeats the alien, just like runs up to the bleachers, and they have like those automatic bleachers. I guess he like hits a button, runs behind it, all the bleachers like start to close. I love when he gets to the end, just like jumps through like fucking
Yeah,
parkour
it was a
and
cool
then
scene.
like crushes the alien and then stabs the alien in the eye and then it like fucking sprays aliens in his face. Thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the alien's dead.
Yep.
He goes back to Stokely and she's alive now. Zeke is alive. And yeah. Anything from that scene that you want to mention before we get to the 1 month later?
No, I just like I really like how they killed the alien in this because like
Mm,
a lot of these movies, it's like oh, they just like stood there and fought with it and like let it smash them around and
yeah.
somehow miraculously they were able to inject it with what they needed to do.
Hmm.
But with this one, it was I don't know, it was new and kind of
Yeah.
fresh, like how they used bleachers, how you mentioned, and had it
Yeah.
trapped in there. I don't know, I just thought it was cool.
Yeah. So everyone saved the day. Uh, Casey is the hero. Cuts to 1 month later. Uh, Pretty much everybody's alive
Mhm.
except for Mary Beth, I guess, right?
Very best. And yeah,
Because the coach is back.
Furlong's
Um,
back.
Furlong's back. All the kids are back. Um,
Zeke's playing football now, and Miss Burke's watching him from the stands. Like,
that was
so
weird,
fucking
man.
weird.
Like, if no one catch on, like she's literally sitting the only one in the stands, and she's just like waving at him. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Uh, Stokely ends up with Stan the man, and Casey ends up with Delilah, which I don't like, man.
Yeah, I feel like that was forced.
Yeah, Delilah, fuck her, man. I don't like her. And then like there's like news vans and stuff like that, and Casey is like the hero, like did
He's
this
on
really
Time
happen?
magazine.
Yeah, Time magazine, like was it a hoax? Like all this stuff. Um, but yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Anything else to mention or bring up?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, that's the way the blood splatters.
Yep. All right. How did you rate this movie?
Um, for story, I'll go a 6 out of 10. Um, Not really in like an original story, but I like the way that Kevin Williamson wrote the movie and kind of changed things and did things his own way.
Mhm.
Um, did took a lot from other horror movies and I thought used it well. I did like all the like there's some characters I didn't like personally, but they were good characters. Like I didn't dislike any characters. Like the way they were written, stuff like that. I loved all of yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Story 6 out of 10. And then for quality, I'll go 7 out of 10. Um, and it was like 98, so it was like kind of like getting into that weird CGI, which we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast. But at the end of the day, it's just a fun horror movie, man. Like such a good time with it. Like I could watch this once a year, twice a year,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't get bothered by it. The special effects on the monster at the end were done really well. I thought it looked really cool. Um, the acting from the teachers, I think were good. Maybe a couple of the students, obviously, like Josh Hartnett and Elijah Wood went on to great careers, right?
Mhm.
The others not so much, but yeah. I thought the acting was pretty good. The music was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 6 out of 10 and 7 out of 10.
Okay. Not bad.
What about you?
I also gave my story a 6 out of 10. Basically for all the reasons you did. Like it's not an original story, but I do like what they did with it. They took bits and pieces of all these different like alien invasion movies or like body snatcher type movies. Um, trans more trans I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word right now. Um, and they kind of just made a 90s horror movie out of it, and it just has that 90s feel to it. Um, it's a feeling that we both enjoy, and it's very nostalgic for us.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but like you said, it's a fun one regardless. My quality, I gave it a 6 out of 10 as well. Uh, it's just like the shitty CGI, like you said, we're at that point where they started
Hmm.
using CGI a lot more, and it was terrible back then. Um, excuse me. But yeah, I love the soundtrack to this movie. Like I mentioned at the start of the episode, like we kick it off right away with "The Kids Aren't All Right" from The Offspring, and that's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite Offspring songs,
Hmm.
and it just fits perfectly for this movie. And then every song throughout it was just perfect. Script wasn't terrible, wasn't great, but
Yeah.
I mean, Williamson, he didn't write the whole thing. He just came in and made his little edits and whatnot.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It was good enough. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for both for me. And I agree with what you said. Like this could be a yearly watch. It's a little
Hmm.
longer than what I would like it to be,
I agree. Yeah.
but
Yeah. It's almost 2 hours.
yeah, you could trim a little bit of it off. But overall, it's fun. All right, you guys know our scores. Let's head on over to Rotten Tomatoes and see what they've scored it. Have fun with this one.
Oh, geez.
The critics' consensus rip off of other sci-fi thrillers.
I
That's
mean,
literally all it is.
I wouldn't say rip off.
It's
That's
more
an
like homage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, sorry. Continue. Why don't you start over?
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it.
What?
Rip off of other sci-fi thrillers. That's the only critics' consensus.
What? I thought I just cut you off because
No, no, no,
that was
no.
so abrupt. I was
That's
like,
it.
come on.
I opened up Rotten Tomatoes and I was like, okay, then I guess that's what we're working with.
Okay. I'll guess the critic score, but can you read the fan synopsis that they have after?
There
If
isn't one
they
on this one.
oh, there isn't? Okay, okay.
No.
Okay.
They only do that on like newer movies.
Okay. Man, that's brutal. Like, how do I even guess? I mean, like, it's gotta be over 50. I'll go 57.
Oh my God, man, you're so close. 58%.
Fuck.
That's on 64 reviews and an average score of 5.7 out of 10. You nailed the audience score
Okay.
with a 57% on 100,000 ratings and an average score of 3.4 to 5 or a 6.8 out of 10. So
All right.
good job getting it that close after that fucking critics
Yeah.
consensus.
Thanks.
uh,
Fuck.
what's Letterbox got for us?
So Letterboxd has a 3.3 out of 5. I give it a 3 out of 5. I didn't change my score like I had 3 last time I watched it. Um,
I also gave it a 3.
okay. Let's see. Erica from Horror Cafe gave it a 3.5. And what else we got? I'm sure lots of people have.
Josh is on
Slashing,
there.
yeah, Slashing Captain 4 out of 5. There's you. Yeah, Josh 3.5. Wow, I'm surprised he doesn't have that higher. He loves his Kevin Williamson.
Mhm.
Jensen 4 to 5. I'm sure Anthony is on here. Nope. Surprising. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So
Cool.
not bad. Between a 3 and a 4.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the scare section?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what did you give for a scare rating?
I'll give it a I'll give it a 2 out of 10. Um, not like any of the alien stuff we see, more of because the CGI was not great for most of it. But just like the teachers, I felt carried this movie. Uh them alone, like, is why it was scary. Just the actors did such a good job
Yeah.
of that portion of it. Yeah. Scary scene, I'll go with the furlong fight whenever Z cuts off his fingers and they fucking turn into aliens and crawl up to students and stuff like that. I thought was really cool. It's awesome. And would I survive? Tough. I'd say yes, because like I wouldn't just go get a fucking ear exam randomly from my nurse. And I feel like I'd be smart enough to kind of catch on like as to what's going on, you
Mm.
know? So yeah.
So high school Brooke would call an alien invasion.
Yeah.
All right.
What would you?
My scare rating, I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Mhm.
Um, like you said, like I just think the teachers did such a good job, and like they're very creepy, in their own ways. Um, just the way that they're like just completely emotionless and expressionless, and um, I feel like the dark settings in this movie were really cool too, because like it's a lot of shadow work. You
Mhm.
can see like a lot of shadows like walking around, and there was one scene where was it Mary Beth? Where it's her, but you can see the shadow and it's actually like the alien shadow.
Mhm.
I thought that was really cool too. My scary scene, first and foremost, Josh Hartnett's haircut.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's
Yeah.
fucking terrible, man.
He
Like,
has
what
no
the
parents
fuck?
though. He has to do it himself.
Ah, that's fair. Okay. That's fair. Um, but being serious, the first scene, like with Coach Willis chasing Principal Drake through the school, I thought that was done really well.
Yeah.
I said he channeled his inner T 2000 and was great at like the completely stoic and emotionless
Yeah.
demeanor. Um, yeah, I just thought it was a really good way to open it up and like get our first instance of
Hmm.
the aliens. And would I survive? I said for the most part, even the people who do get possessed by these aliens, they still survive at the end, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Um, so I think like even if I did get it, I would come out alive
Hmm.
because like literally everyone survives except for Mary Beth
Yeah.
and Brommel, the old ass teacher.
But yeah, she was old though.
Yeah. I like the conversation. I forgot to bring it up during movie discussion, but like whenever the coach and what's her name? Olson,
Yeah.
whenever they're talking at the water cooler and
Hmm.
they're like, yeah, Bromwell's body's just too old. Like she couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. I don't know. That's why she died. So yeah, that wraps it up.
Nice.
What are we watching in 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks, we are covering a movie that we in a franchise that we've actually done one of the movies in it,
Okay.
but it's not the first one that we covered. We're going to do Child's Play.
Yes. Yes. I've been wanting to call that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking right.
Yeah.
The
So,
original, right? Not the
yes, the
remake.
original. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
So,
Ah, I'm so excited.
yeah. Child's Play. We did like Bride of Chucky. Like,
That was a long time
was
ago.
that like second season or first season? Near the tail end of first season?
That might have been first season because that was when we were doing listener requests.
Yeah.
Let's
Wow.
see. I'm gonna pull it up here. We did Bride of Chucky on May 22nd, 2020.
So that
So
was first season.
season one, episode 25.
25. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That long ago. Wow.
Yeah. That's
Jesus.
crazy.
Wow. Damn. Can't believe they haven't done a Chucky since then.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising, actually.
Damn.
Sweet.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I love that movie. All right. Well, thanks for listening. And if you guys want to catch us on social media, you can find us at a podcast on Elm Street on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you click the link in our bio on Instagram, you'll find links to our Public account where we have our merch. There's also a link to our Patreon account if you wish to support the podcast that way. And there's links to our individual Letterboxd accounts, our Discord server, and anywhere you can listen to us. That was a fun movie. Happy we did
It
it.
was it.
So yeah, see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir. All right. Talk to you guys.
Bye.